class, Prof JC here, and I'm very excited about what we're going to talk about this week because it's going to lead into the project that we're going to work on next week, which is life mapping. Okay, maybe some of you have done this before, maybe you've heard of it before, but I'll kind of walk through what this is. But I think this is a really important piece as we're looking at this idea of purpose. As you're working to define your purpose, whether it's in life or business, right? Because you can come to this class and you can say, hey, I already know what my life purpose is, but maybe I just need a little bit of help with my business purpose, my leadership purpose, my organizational purpose, team purpose, whatever it is. So you can apply this to any of these that you want. But if you're in the class and you're saying, I'm still trying to discover what my purpose is, this is going to be an important tool to kind of help with that. So this week, we're going to talk about this idea of life mapping. Next week, you're going to actually do the life map and get it turned in. Okay. So I'm very excited about all of this. And I think it should be fun. I think it should be good. As a matter of fact, I think what we're going to do is actually give you 2 weeks to work on the life map, because the week after next is 4th of July, and I want you to have that week free to just have fun with your family and do all that stuff. So I'm going to give you 2 weeks to work on the life map. So that'll give you some time. So we're going to talk about it today, and then you'll get some time next week, and then it'll be due the following week. Okay, so you have 2 weeks to work on the life map. And so I'm very excited about that. Okay, so let's dive in. Life mapping, what does this mean? And why are we talking about it today? So when we think about this idea of purpose, and I talk so much about this, so I'm going to try to keep this one shorter, but I'm so passionate about this because I really do believe a person, an organization, a team, a company, a family even, right? You know, whatever it is not going to be as successful as you possibly can be. And by successful, I mean reach your full and highest potential, whatever that is. It looks different for all of us, but whatever that is for you, I want to make sure that you can do that. But you're not going to do that if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know why you're getting up every single day and going out and doing the work that you're supposed to do, right? But the reality is most people live lives of that lack any kind of purpose. You know, I've been doing this long enough to know at Point Loma that there are many people that come to Point Loma don't really have a clear purpose as to where they're going. It's, you know, for those of you who are in your 20s, I'm asking a lot of you right now, you know, for you to sit there and think about what could the rest of my life look like. But here's what I will say, and this is anecdotal evidence. This is based on my personal experience. The men and women that I know that are the most successful in life, okay? And by that, I mean that they've reached their full and highest potential, whether it's in life, business, nonprofit, for-profit, you know, whatever it is. It's because they have lived very intentional lives, and they knew why they got up every single day, and they just went after it, okay? I want the same thing for you. So this life mapping, I think, can help, because it's going to help us with this idea of beginning with the end in mind. Some of you have heard this term before, begin with the end in mind. But let's just read through that. I didn't create that term, begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey did in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have not read that book, I highly recommend that you get that book just in your personal time. Read that book. It is an incredible book for all business leaders, executives, managers, you know, whatever role you want to have. It's one of the top books that really looks at the personal side of leadership and business and just how to organize your life better, right? I think I've said it before in this class, maybe I haven't, that I'm a huge believer that your business, your organization, especially or your team, right? If you're a CEO, if you're the head manager of your organization, right? That business is just a reflection of who you are. So if it's successful, it's because you have been successful. If it's not successful, it's something within inside of you has held back that organization, has held back the company. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start your own company and you can't get it off the ground, it's you. Okay. And I know that's some of you aren't going to like me saying that. I don't really care. I really believe that. Okay. We are at the heart of our organization, our teams, right? If you look at your team, maybe you're a team leader in an organization and your team somehow is just not quite getting it. It's because you're not getting it. It's 100% back to you. There's something that needs to change about you and your leadership, and then your team. I promise you, it will take off as you make the changes. I'm going off on tangents here. Um, I say all that to say this, that personal side to who you become and what your business becomes, all of that is very important. Okay. So again, get the book. He talks about this habit number 2. It's chapter number 2. And here's what he says about beginning with the end in mind. It means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. We've talked about that in this class as well. That's the vision aspect. Purpose, in this class this summer, we're looking at the purpose and vision of your life. So we're kind of transitioning a little bit into vision. We're not quite there yet, but that's what a vision is, right? A clear understanding of your destination, where you're going. You need to know where you're going in order to better understand where you are now so that the steps you take are always in the right direction. Okay. It's easy to get caught up in an activity trap, and you probably experience this on a daily basis. I know that I do. All the emails coming through and this and that, and you got this thing you got to take care of and that thing you have to take care of. It just causes an activity trap. And if we're not careful, we don't get the important things done. I shared with you guys at the beginning of this semester that I'm working on my dissertation. So I'm in school as well. I'm teaching, but I'm also in classes. Well, it's not really in classes now. It's writing the dissertation. And if any of you ever decide to go on and write a dissertation, or you decide to go on and maybe get a doctorate or something, you will find that this is true. You probably find it true in your program now. Okay. There are certain days you will find anything in the world to not do the work that you need to do. You'll find yourself doing laundry. You find yourself, getting that oil change. You find yourself washing your car, all good things, right? You make dinner for your partner or spouse. You take the kids out and play with them more. You're going out and practicing in that sport that you're in. All these are good things. But really, if you were to dig down deep, you realize I'm doing this because I'm trying to, I'm subconsciously distracting myself from the thing I need to be doing. And so we all get caught up in the activity trap. And just this morning, I actually had to get up and do some journaling and refocus my life. I have to do this every so often, refocus, what's most important, and then get rid of everything else. Okay. Because we all get caught up in that, in the busyness of life, to work harder and harder at climbing the ladder of success, only to discover, now this is what I don't want for you. I think we've talked about this in the class as well. Only to discover it's been leaning against the wrong wall. And this is what happens. I do these podcasts, so I'm pretty sure I talked about it in this class, that oftentimes you see somebody who gets into their 40s, like, close to my age, I'm 45, they get in their late 30s, mid 40s, 50s, and we see them having what we call a midlife crisis. And I've known enough people that have gone through midlife crisis. Again, this is anecdotal evidence. It's based on my own experience. But I've known enough people who've gone through it to know it's not really a crisis. They actually finally discovered who they were, and they realized life is too short to keep doing the things that they're doing when they're trying to make somebody else happy. So they're stuck in a marriage that they've been stuck in because they didn't want to disappoint their parents, or they didn't want to disappoint their church community, or whatever it was. So they stayed in that. They stayed in a certain job, and the job, it made them $200,000, $250,000 a year, and that made the family happy, and that made people proud of them, and their dad proud of them. And so they get to 45 and they realize, I don't care about any of this, right? And so it looks like a midlife crisis, and really most of the times they're discovering who they are. I don't want that to, especially for those of you who are in your 20s still, or early 30s. I don't want you to get, into your late 30s, mid 40s, 50s, and realize that your ladder's been hung against the wrong wall. That's why I want you to be intentional even now about the life that you live. I just believe in this so much. It's so important for what you're trying to do to be intentional. Okay. And so that's everything that we're talking about. Okay. And if we're not intentional, that's when we get stuck doing all this kind of stuff that we're not, it's the activity trap. And I don't want that for you, because I want you to live lives of purpose and to be successful, which means to reach your full and highest potential. Now, this means a lot to me this week right here. This statement, focusing on the end. Okay. We're talking about this idea of beginning with the end in mind, helps to ensure that we don't make dumb decisions now by allowing emotions to control our life, our leadership, or business decisions. Now, I'm going to tell you this, okay? So I spent several years in ministry, working for church, and so I still kind of follow that world, and I've got friends who are in that world, and just in the last 2 weeks. And maybe some of you've heard about this as well. If you've watched the news, the most recent one you probably have seen. I mean, it's just made the news everywhere. But two of the, I would call them evangelical giants. I mean, just the creme de la creme, the top of the top. Two of them came crashing down in the last 2 weeks. One had to step aside. He's been at his church for 48 years, if you can imagine. He founded it. He started the church, been leading the church for 48 years, and he was very vague, and that's a whole nother conversation that I'm probably going to have in one of my communication classes next semester, is looking at how they've released the information and what they probably could have done better. But anyway, the first pastor, 48 years, and we're talking mega churches. So these aren't some small churches around the corner with 150 people. These thousands upon thousands, and both of these people were incredibly influential. One of the pastors early on, I guess this would have been 20 years ago, George W. Bush, when he was president, stopped by his church and actually participated in a service there in Dallas, Texas. Both these guys are from Dallas, Texas as well. The most recent one that happened just in the last couple of days, he was part of Trump's advisory council or faith advisory council or something like that. You can go look up both these pastors, and one has pictures with President George W. Bush back when he was president. The newer guy has pictures with Trump when he was president. So these are very powerful men in the world, and they were as successful as you can be in the evangelical world. These guys made it all the way. Both of them had to step down. One had to step down, and he's going to come back. But his star will never shine as bright as it was. Okay, he will never reach the same level of heights. That's just how it is in that world. But he stepped away. He admitted to something. He was very vague about it, though. He said it wasn't criminal in nature, but he made some decisions that weren't great, so he has to step down from ministry for a while. And so I guarantee you by Christmas time, he'll be back in the pulpit. Whether you think that's okay or not, that's just the way it is. The other one, we will never hear or see from him again. It came out that so in the church world, they have these things called moral failings. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of that term before, but it just means that somebody they failed in a way that was probably sexual in nature. Okay, they were probably married. They're probably men. That's usually how it works in the evangelical world. They're probably married men, and so they stepped outside of their relationship. They stepped outside of their marriage, and they had an extramarital affair. And so what we call that is, or what that's termed in that world, is a moral failure. So the next one, he had admitted to this years ago, that like 30 something years ago, he'd had a moral failure, and he had stepped out of ministry for a couple of years, but then he came back. And that happens. Again, whether you think it's right or not, that stuff happens. But since that had happened back in the 80s, he came back, and in 2000, he started a church that became one of the largest churches in the entire world. And I mean, they would say like 70, 80,000 people go to this church. I'm not sure it's 70, 80,000, but it's a huge church, very influential church. And so anyway, it came out that he had, in the 80s, when he had that moral failure, he had been saying it was a moral failure, like he'd had an extramarital affair. He had a moral failure. No, what had happened was, and you can read this. I'm not trying to be controversial on the podcast today, but he had actually sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl. He had molested her when he was in his early 20s, and this had happened for over 4 years. Anyway, I'm saying all this. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just it's just heartbreaking all around. All the people that followed him who are devastated. For the woman, obviously, who's carried this for many years. She's a 57-year-old woman now. She's a grandmother now. And she's 57 or 52. I'm not sure what the age is, but she's been carrying that for years. And so anyway, I say all this to say that these are two gentlemen who've built massive organizations over decades. They've given their decades of their lives to this. and both of them are heading into the end zone, and they're crashing and burning. Okay, one may end up in jail. Right, there's no statute of limitations in the state of Texas on sexual assault towards children. So one may actually end up in jail. We'll see how that plays out over time. Anyway, the point I'm trying to bring up for all this, and I didn't mean to get too scandalous or give too many details again. All this stuff's in the news, so you can read about it. Um, I don't want that for any of us. Now, I don't think any of you on the call are ever going to have this happen, but it could well happen that you make a mistake somewhere along the line, that you take your eyes off the ball, you take your eyes off the main thing. And we've seen business people get in trouble as well. Embezzlement, right? Tax fraud is a huge one. That's the one. If I worry about our business students, I worry about our leadership students the most. It has to do with those kind of things. Making poor decisions at work, making poor decisions in relationships, right? All these things are the things that I want to make sure that you can, stay away from. Here's what I know, that the people who end well, who have long-term careers, is because they are mission focused, they are vision focused, they are purpose driven, and they just stay on that they stay on that purpose, they stay on that mission 24/7. And so they're not worried about these other things. They're not out here doing things to get themselves, caught up in, messes and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, focusing on the end, right? It's very important, so that at the end of your life, when you're in the box that we're all going to be in, and you put 6 feet under, that we're all going to be, we're all going to be there at some point, that you can look back and say, man, I lived my life well. I did it the very best that I could. I want that for every single one of us. So here we go. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to create a life map. And here's the reason why I love this. I love this picture right here. It starts, right? Anything that is created, it first starts in the mind. Anything that is created first starts in the mind. I want you to think about the most beautiful skyscraper you've ever seen. I want you to think about the most beautiful man-made, some of you might, maybe you were raised in really nice homes. Maybe some of you have a dream home out there. Think of the most beautiful car that you've ever seen, right? All of that started in the mind of somebody. That's a powerful thought, to think that so many of the things that are innovative, that are transformative, in our lives, they all begin in the mind of somebody. It's the same with our lives. It's the same with how we live our lives. It's the same with our businesses. All of it has to start up here, right? So it starts first as a mental creation, and then it moves into a physical creation, right? Oftentimes the physical creation, as you can kind of see there with these drawings, it's going to look a little bit different than what the mental creation is, but it all starts with the mental creation, okay? And so that's what we're going to do, okay? We want to have a really dynamic life, but it starts by having it in the mind first. Anything that happens out here in the real world, it always starts in the mind first. So here's our first question for you today, okay? Here's our first question. I'm going to give you two questions right now, okay? And we'll probably do one more question, later on. First question is this: based on everything that I just talked about, why is life mapping so important for you to live a life of purpose? Based on everything that we just talked about in the podcast so far, why is life mapping so important for you to live a life of purpose? Okay. So that's question number one. Okay. Question number two is, why is it important to live with intention in terms of pursuing a life of purpose? Why is it important to live with intention in pursuing a life of purpose? Or again, a business of purpose, an organization of purpose, whatever it may be, okay? If you're focusing on your life, focus there. If you're focusing on your business, focus there. But why is it important to live with intention, okay? To kind of create in our mind first before we move towards a life of purpose. Okay, so those are the first two questions I want you to answer for this week. Now, the rest of our slides here today, I just want to give you some examples of what this idea of life mapping could look like, because you're going to create your own life map. Okay, so this week you're going to work on these questions here. You're just going to kind of study this. You can look up life maps. There's a ton of examples online, so I'm going to encourage you to look up those examples online. And then and then you'll spend 2 weeks just kind of working on your life map. And I'm very, very excited to see those. Okay. Now you can design them however you want. You can obviously you see that some people have a lot of fun with this. Okay. And I want to encourage you to have as much fun as possible. If you want to draw it out yourself, right, as you can kind of see here that somebody did, if I were doing it, I'd probably draw it out on a piece of paper. Then all you have to do is just scan it and then upload the PDF, right? If you want to do it in a computer, right? If you want to do it in a Word format and you want to use, digital tools to do that, you can use that as well. And again, you just scan the PDF, or I guess if you do it on your computer, you just save it as a PDF or Word doc, however you want to, and just upload it. But you're going to design your own life map. And again, it's so that you can think about the end. What does the end look like for you? Because I'm telling you, even though for some of you in your 20s and you think it's so far away, JC, why do I have to think about this? It will be here before you know it. Okay. It seems to me like it was just 2 to 3 years ago. I was in Fort Benning, Georgia. I think it's named something else now, Fort Harrison, Georgia, or something like that. Fort Harris, Georgia, something. But I was down in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was in basic training, and that was like 20 that was 25 years ago. Right now, okay, if it's 2012, I went in 1998. Right? 1998. So that would be 26 years ago. Right now, I was in the heat of Georgia, and they're having that heat dome out there. I was back there with the red ants, but it feels like it was just 3 years ago. So I'm just saying all this to say your life is going to go quicker than what you think it is. I want to make sure you enjoy it. And again, I want to make sure you live with intention. So here's what a life map is. A life map is a timeline that includes key moments from the past. You can always start in the past, right, to help you kind of see kind of where you're going, helping you gain a broader perspective of the goals you're trying to achieve and your progress towards those goals. You can also use a life map to explore future plans, which is what we're doing, projections, and goals. That's everything that we're working on right now. Life maps feature visual elements such as photos, drawing. So you could even take a document and you almost like a vision board, right? You can cut out photos if you want to and put them on the life map if you want to, or you can draw them. You can do it however you want. It's your life map. You do whatever you want, but you need to create one. Okay, that's going to be important. It could just be words, right? Some of you, that's how I would do mine. I probably wouldn't draw anything on mine. Mine would be a lot of words on there. If I were kind of, so you can do that as well. And again, I'll give you some more examples here in just a second. So you can use a life map to explore future plans, projections, goals. Life maps feature visual elements such as photos, drawings, symbols, and icons. These visual elements provide additional context and make your life map easier to scan and understand. As the name life map suggests, you can use these maps to explore your own personal life and goals, but you can also use them to explore the timeline of a company, a project, or a product. So maybe you say on the call, I have my own purpose is down. I'm good on that. But you've got an organization that you're trying to build, or a dream organization, a dream company. Use this as a way to build that dream company out and map it out, right? And then you're able to see all the pieces. What are all the pieces it's going to take once you have that end piece right there? And that's what I would encourage you. Begin with the end in mind. It's this whole assignment we're talking about. What is the success at the end of your life? Okay, or at the end of the organization, or when that organization, maybe you want to sell the organization one day, but what does the organization have to be before you sell it, right? So I want you to think through that, through those terms. Life maps are powerful strategic planning tools that help you organize information and make better, more informed decisions. And I want you to make good decisions. I want your life to be ran out of intention, based on vision, not out of emotions, where one day your name is all over the news, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, News Nation, all of them carrying these last two guys that I just talked to you about. I don't want that to be you. So I want you to live a life on purpose, okay? Here's how you create a life map. It starts with defining your purpose, right? So you choose the topic for the life map. For you, it's going to be purpose. It's either going to be organizational purpose or personal purpose. Stick with one of those two items right there. You plan the layout of the map, right? So you pick a starting point for your life map. It could be the founding date, a kickoff date, another. I would encourage you, put that ending date or whatever that final vision, put that on the life map and work towards that. Create a timeline, right? So you start filling in the life map, adding important milestones and key events chronologically. Consider your most important or your most essential goals, right? As you're looking at, and that's going to be important as you kind of wrap that out. Now, again, I don't mind map, but Just today, I just shared with you that I had to get my life focused, and so I've got all these goals right here. I don't think you can see that because of how this goes. I don't. You can use it's this booklet. You can't. Okay, right there. So there's the booklet right there, and I had to write out these are the most important things this summer. I found myself getting a little too distracted, right? Too many things happen. And I think I shared with you, we just moved homes. And so that's been stressful. And just realizing I got to get refocused here. Okay. So you lay that out. So you create a timeline, you work through that, or your most essential goals. You look at the future, right? Short and long-term goals. But again, begin with the end in mind. I can't stress that enough. What's the desired outcome? You work backwards. Review your map and update your map as needed. Now, I will put these PowerPoints in the assignment. Okay. When we're ready, when I'm getting, when you're getting ready to create your mind map, I'll make sure that this PowerPoint is available to you. Not this week, but next week when you're actually writing it, you'll be able to see you'll be able to see these PowerPoints. So you can go back and read through all of this and look at the examples. And there's all kinds of information online about it as well. So here's some examples. You've got Krista right here. She was born in 1975. She has a mind map. Maybe this is she's got some keywords up there. You can do that as well if you want to. What are some keywords for your life? That's pretty great. And then you go back and you say, well, if these are keywords for my life, how are they represented on my life map? So she's got it kind of timed out there. Again, I don't want you looking back and give a history. I want you to plan forward. Now you might have to put, just a little bit of your past in there. Um, but I want the most of your focus to be if you do put your born, the date that you were born, you put your birth date on there, maybe graduate high school, graduate college, whatever it is. I want all that because I want it to help push you forward. So I want you to create a life map that goes out forward, not one that I don't really need to know your history. I don't want you looking back in this class. I want you looking forward. Here's another one, kind of a life map. This actually looks more like a mind map right here. Okay, just lots of different words and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'll have these examples for you. Here's Sharon's life map, and she's got one from number one all the way to number 20. Okay, I don't know what her goals are there. You can't really see what the goal is. Looks like maybe some traveling, some theater. She wants to do maybe she wants to be in a movie or create a movie. She wants to find love, heartbreak. So she might be looking back here. Number 10 there. You got number 11, buying a house. Number 12, 13. I don't know what these things are, turns, whatever. So anyway, that's just an example there as well. Here's another way. This looks more like a mind map, but it's kind of mapping out here are my goals for 2022. And so again, and you can do this for a life map as well. If you put out the goal in the center, right? Maybe the goal is you want to build a business that has a market valuation of $500 million by the time you're done, or it's got annual revenues of $100 million or $1 billion or whatever it is. It's your company. You want to sell it, right, for 1.5 billion or something like that. It's your goals. You get to set it there. So maybe you put that in the middle, and then you come up with these different, sections, like they have their goals there for 2022, and they've got the different categories: save money, health, career, fun, mind, family, friends. You can do all this as well, right? It's your life map. You can make it more linear. You can make it more central based, where you put this in and you put in your top priorities around that. That works as well. It's your life maps. You do with it, whatever you want. Here are some more examples of life maps right there. What I like about this, and this works for mind mapping as well, is these examples right here. As you can see, at the center kind of shows that open space there, which would probably be the primary goal. Right. So here's the things I'm working toward, and here are all the different categories that will help me get that. So you're going to create this life map the way that you want to create it. I'm not going to micromanage that for you. I just want you to get thoughts on paper. Like if I were creating one that used this template right here, I would probably write my purpose in the middle, and I would, whatever that is, my own purpose, I would put that in the middle, and then everything else would kind of go around, and my top priorities would be there, right? That's another way of life mapping. At least by the time you're done with it, here's what my primary purpose is. Here are the top priorities that I have to make happen so that I can achieve this purpose. Okay. So that's all I got there. That's the most important thing right there. I'm just really excited about this, and I'm really excited about reading and kind of looking over your life maps. I just think this is hugely important if you're going to become intentional people, which is what I want you to become, to reach your full and highest potential. That's the goal. That's where we want to get you in life. All right. So this week, you're not creating the life map. Okay. Don't turn in a life map. I'm not going to grade it. You're not going to, right? Spend time on it. This week, you're going to answer the questions. I put 2 questions in there. Okay. That are already in there. So I want you to go answer those questions. And then, uh, our third question, here's the question I want to put to you right now is the third question. What's the most important piece that is necessary to be in your life map? Okay, I just want you to think about that. What's the most important piece that is necessary to be in your life map? I'm really looking forward to this. But again, you're not creating the life maps. You're just watching this video, listening to the podcast, whatever it is, answering these questions. You can start to think about it and formulate it. And then over the next 2 weeks, you'll actually be working on the life map. Hey, I'm excited for this. And I'm hoping maybe not all of you will have the experience where this is impactful for you, but I'm hoping that some of you have a really good experience from this and it helps kind of direct you into a more intentional, purposeful life. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And feel free to reach out if you need to through email, text, whatever's best. Thanks so much for your work in this class, and I'll see you soon. Take care.